$83,000. That's what I paid into this house over 11 years after I retired from the county water department. And on the Thursday, my hip finally gave out on the porch steps. My son's biggest worry wasn't whether I could stand up. It was whether Puerto Vallarta had a decent refund window. Let me back up. My name is Walter Colson. I'm 66 years old, and I live in a single-story rancher on Cutter Lane outside Toledo, Ohio. 31 years with the water department, running crews, fixing mains at 3 in the morning in January, retired with a pension I'm still proud of. Good money, not rich money. The kind of money that lets you surprise your family with a week at the beach and still sleep fine at night, or so I believed. You spend 3 decades thinking you're building a family. Turns out you're just building a very expensive audience. I didn't know that yet, though. 2 weeks before this story really gets moving, all I knew was that my hip clicked like a rusted gate hinge, and I hadn't had a full day without pain in longer than I could remember. Here's the thing about being a father, and, after my wife passed 6 years back, the only parent in this house. Love isn't something you say out loud. It's something you do quietly, before anybody else is even awake. I repainted the fence in April, because my son Marcus mentioned once, just in passing, that it was looking rough. I spent 3 weekends under his wife, Dana's minivan, replacing a transmission line because the shop quoted them $1,400, and Marcus called that robbery, Dad, plain and simple. Nobody asked me to do any of it. I just did it. And back in February, sitting alone at my kitchen table at 11 at night, staring at a calendar with nothing but doctor's appointments written on it, I decided I was going to do something big. Something they'd remember. Puerto Vallarta, I said, sliding a printout across the table to Marcus on an ordinary Sunday after church. Beachfront condo, private pool deck, 8 days. Already paid in full. Marcus's eyebrows shot up, genuinely surprised, not the polite surprise he does when Dana's mother gives them another casserole dish they don't need. Dad, how much did this run you? $5,500, I said. Don't worry about it, it's done. 4 words I would replay in my head for the rest of my life like a scratch on an old record. My granddaughter Paisley came flying in from the backyard, phone already in her hand, and when Marcus told her, she screamed loud enough that the neighbor's dog started barking. She hugged me so hard my hip nearly buckled. Grandpa, you're the best. I'm telling everybody, she said, thumbs already moving across the screen. Maybe wait till we're actually down there, I laughed. Don't jinx it. She wasn't listening. She was already posting. I want you to remember that moment, the screaming, the hug, because it's the last time in this whole story either one of them looked at me like I mattered more than what I could hand them. Welcome back to the channel. Grab a coffee and get comfortable, because this one's going to take you somewhere. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're tuning in from tonight. You're going to want to see how this ends. 6 weeks of extra shifts driving a school bus route paid for most of that trip, on top of my pension. I picked up every route the district would give me, mornings and afternoons both. Ate a sandwich in the driver's seat instead of going home for lunch just to squeeze in the extra hours. By the time the trip got close, my hip was screaming at me every night, but I didn't care. I kept a little countdown taped to my refrigerator. 12 days to Vallarta, 7 days to Vallarta. 3 days before we were set to fly out of Detroit Metro, I was in the garage lifting a suitcase down off the shelf when my hip just went. Not a twinge, a full collapse, like the bone underneath had turned to chalk. I went down hard onto the concrete, and I couldn't get back up. I lay there on my back, staring at the exposed rafters, sweating through my shirt, unable to get a full breath in past the pain radiating up my spine. Marcus, I managed to call out, but my voice came out thin and useless. He found me maybe 15 minutes later, standing over me with his car keys still in his hand like he couldn't quite process what he was looking at. Dad? Dad? What happened? Why are you on the floor? Hospital, I gasped. Now, fractured hip, the kind that needs surgery same day or it never sets right. I was at Mercy Health for 2 nights and discharged on the 3rd morning because that's how it works now. They put the pins in and push you out the door before you can stand up straight on your own. I had a surgical wound held together with staples, a walker I hated, a bag of pain medication, and doctor's orders. No weight on that leg for at least 10 days. Somebody needs to be checking on him regularly. Marcus drove me home from the hospital in near silence. I told myself he was just scared, still processing. I gave him a day. By the second day, I understood the silence wasn't fear. It was arithmetic. I was propped up on the couch, groggy, when I heard him on the phone in the kitchen. His voice had that clipped, irritated tone he uses with his manager at the dealership when a customer complains. No, I know, Dana, I know. But it's already paid. That's the whole problem. $5,500 just sitting there if we don't go. No, he's fine. He's resting. The doctor said he just needs to stay off the leg. Fine. He's fine. I was lying on my own couch with steel pins holding my hip together, and I was fine. I told myself I'd misheard the tone. I told myself a lot of things over the next 2 days. On the third night after my surgery, Marcus came and sat on the edge of the recliner across from me. He was dressed, actually dressed, and there was a suitcase by the front door I hadn't given anybody permission to pack. Something in my chest already knew what was coming before he opened his mouth. Dad, he started. And I want you to understand he used the exact same even tone he uses when he's talking a customer into the extended warranty. The condo's non-refundable. If we don't go, that's $5,500 just gone. And the doctor did say you need to stay quiet and rest. We'd honestly just be underfoot here, worrying about getting your walker through doorways and all that. I stared at him. You're leaving. Well, you can barely make it to the bathroom on your own right now. Paisley's already packed, Dad. She's been so excited about this, you don't want to be the reason she misses it, do you? There it was, the move. Make it about somebody else's happiness, so my objection makes me the bad guy. Marcus, I need help. I can't drive myself to follow up appointments. I can barely stand up from this chair. You'll be fine, he said, standing and smoothing his shirt. It's 8 days. We'll video call every night. Then, and I still don't fully believe I watched this happen with my own 2 eyes, he pulled out his phone right there in my living room and called the property management company. Hey, so my dad can't make it after all, he said, laughing a little like it was a scheduling mix-up and not his father lying on a couch with a fractured hip. Any chance we can just add my wife's sister to the reservation instead, since the room's already paid for? He hung up, looked at me almost cheerfully, and set a glass of water and a sleeve of crackers on the side table next to me. Just order a pizza if you get hungry, he said. Love you, Dad. Feel better. The garage door went up, then down, and the house went quiet in a way I hadn't heard it since my wife passed. Not peaceful quiet. Abandoned quiet. He never said the words "you're ruining the trip" that night. He didn't have to. It was written all over the packed suitcase, the crackers on the side table, like I was a houseplant somebody forgot to arrange for while they were gone. I lay there a long time staring at the ceiling fan turning slow circles, and I thought one very clear thought. 30 years of Saturdays, and this is what it bought me. I don't know how long I sat there alone. Time gets strange when you're flat on a couch, drifting in and out from the pain medication, listening to your own house creak and settle around you like it's laughing at you. Long enough that the crackers were gone and the water glass was empty, and I was seriously considering trying to crawl to the kitchen on my own. Then I heard the front door. My first thought was pure panic. Somebody's in the house. Then I heard a voice I recognized calling out from the entryway. Grandpa, hey, it's just me. Don't call the police on me. Tyler, my late wife's sister's grandson, 22 years old, works nights stocking shelves at a hardware store off Reynolds Road, saving up to get into an HVAC apprenticeship program. Marcus has called him a lazy stoner more than once at family dinners, usually right to his face, usually followed by that laugh Marcus does that isn't really a laugh at all. Tyler appeared in my living room doorway, still in his work vest, keys in his hand, and just stopped. Looked at me, looked at the empty water glass, looked at the suitcase-shaped dent, still pressed into the carpet by the front door. My grandma called and told me what happened, he said quietly. Said you had surgery. I figured somebody would actually be here with you. They left for Mexico, I said, and even I could hear how flat my own voice sounded. Couldn't get the deposit back. Tyler didn't say anything right away. He just set his keys down on the counter, walked over, and crouched down next to the couch so he was at eye level with me. Nobody should have left you like this, Grandpa. That's messed up. When's the last time you ate something that wasn't a cracker? I didn't know it yet, lying there half out of it on pain medication, But that question, that simple, stupid question, was the first real kindness anybody had shown me in 3 days. All right, Tyler said, already rolling up his sleeves. Give me 20 minutes. I'm making you real food. And Grandpa, he paused at the kitchen doorway, and for a second he looked older than 22. Whatever they think of me, I'm not the one who left you on a couch with crackers. He disappeared into the kitchen, and a few minutes later I heard cabinets opening, a pot hitting the stove, the low sound of him humming to himself the way people do when their hands are busy and their minds finally quiet. I lay there in the dim light, hip throbbing under the bandage, and the house finally smelled like something other than antiseptic and abandonment. My phone buzzed on the side table. I picked it up. New photo. Marcus, Paisley, and Dana's sister, all three of them grinning on a white sand beach, drinks in hand, golden light behind them. The caption read, "Finally relaxing." I set the phone face down and closed my eyes. Somewhere in the kitchen, I could hear Tyler stirring something on the stove. And for the first time in 3 days, I let myself breathe. Grief has a smell. I learned that week. It smells like chicken soup and rubbing alcohol and a house that's too quiet at 2 in the afternoon. But betrayal has a sound. It sounds like a notification chime on a phone you're too scared to pick up. By day 2, I could shuffle to the bathroom on my own with the walker, hunched over like a man 20 years older than I already was. Tyler had gone home to shower and change, but promised he'd be back that evening. For a few hours, it was just me, the ceiling fan, and my phone sitting on the side table like something that might go off. Around noon, it buzzed. Paisley, how's the hip, Grandpa? 4 words. That's all it took to crack something open in my chest I didn't know could still crack. I sat up too fast, wincing, and typed back before I could stop myself. Doing okay, sweetheart. Sore, but Tyler's been amazing, made me real soup, helped me get around. Miss you, kiddo. Thinking about you every time I look at that fence I painted, remembering how you used to help me hold the ladder when you were little. Hope you're having fun down there. Love you. I sat there staring at those 2 gray check marks like a teenager waiting on somebody to text back. Pathetic. Probably. I didn't care. I set the phone down, picked it back up 10 minutes later. Nothing. An hour later, nothing. By evening, still nothing. She's probably just busy, I told myself. Pool time, dinner, whatever. She circled back the next morning, just not the way I'd hoped. I was scrolling, restless, trying to distract myself from the ache in my hip, and Paisley's video popped into my feed because Tyler had insisted I follow her so you can actually see what she's up to instead of interrogating her. There she was in sunglasses on a lounge chair, lip-syncing to some song with Dana's niece, and the caption read, "When Grandpa texts you a novel about a fence while you're trying to enjoy vacation, lol. Dramatic much." 28,000 views. I read that caption maybe 5 times, waiting for it to say something different. It never did. I deleted the second message I'd started typing back to her, the longer one, where I'd begun writing about how scared I'd been on that garage floor, how for a second I genuinely thought I might not get back up, and how the last thing I'd thought about was the sound of her laugh as a little girl. Gone, deleted. I set the phone face down on the side table and stared at the ceiling fan going in slow, useless circles. You spend 18 years teaching a kid to ride a bike, to drive a car, to believe in herself, and somewhere along the way she learns to make content out of your pain instead. I didn't cry. I want to be clear about that because I know how this sounds. I didn't cry. Something colder happened instead. Something settled. Tyler came back that evening with a grocery bag from the market off Reynolds Road. Real vegetables, a rotisserie chicken, ingredients for actual stew, not the sad broth situation from before. He caught me staring at nothing. "You good?" he asked, setting the bag on the counter. "Fine," I said. The word tasted like ash coming out of my mouth. It was the same word Marcus had used on the phone. He's fine. Tyler didn't push. That's one thing about that kid. He doesn't push. He just stays. He started chopping onions at my kitchen counter, and I sat in my recliner watching him work, and for a while the sound of a knife on a cutting board was the only thing in the house that made any sense. Around 8, his phone rang. He glanced at it, something flickered across his face, and he silenced it and shoved it back in his pocket. "Who was that?" I asked. "Nobody. Work stuff." I let it go that night. I shouldn't have, but I let it go. 2 days later, I overheard him out on the back patio, thinking I was asleep. His voice was low and tight, the kind of tight that comes from trying not to raise your voice at your own grandmother. Yeah, I know, Grandma. I know it was a big deal, the apprenticeship, the union card, all of it, I know. A pause. What was I supposed to do, huh? Grandpa literally can't get to the bathroom by himself half the time. You want me to just leave him here alone? Another pause, longer this time. No, I already called the program back, told them I had to withdraw my application. It's done, Grandma. Drop it. I lay very still in the dark, staring at the crack of porch light under my bedroom door, and I felt something twist in my chest that had nothing to do with my hip. A 22-year-old kid Marcus calls a lazy stoner behind his back, and he just gave up a real shot at a real career for me. And he was never going to tell me. I didn't say anything to him about it, not then. But I remembered. I remember everything, actually. That's sort of my problem, if you ask Marcus. I remember every Saturday I spent under that minivan for people who can't be bothered to remember which pills I take in the morning. Day 5 brought the phone call. It was late, past 10, and I was half asleep on the couch when my phone lit up the dark room. Marcus. I almost let it ring out. Some petty, wounded part of me wanted to. But 30 years of being somebody's father doesn't unwire itself in 5 days. Hey, I said, voice thick with sleep. Hey. His voice was softer than it had been in months, actually, with a slight slur that told me there'd been a few drinks involved. I'm sorry, Dad. I know this has been hard on you. I needed a break. Work's been a nightmare. The house payment, Paisley's tuition stuff. I just needed to breathe for a minute. For one stupid, hopeful second, my chest actually loosened. Maybe he's coming home early. Maybe this is the moment 30 years of fatherhood remembers itself. Marcus, I said carefully, if you're drowning, come home. We'll figure it out together. That's what we do. I know, he said. I know. I just need a few more days. I'm sorry, Dad. I really am. We hung up. I lay in the dark a long time after that, turning his words over like stones, looking for the version of them that meant what I wanted them to mean. I found my answer at 7 the next morning. A new post from Paisley. Marcus, Paisley, and Dana's sister at some resort spa, faces covered in green mud masks, laughing at the camera. Caption: Self-care isn't selfish. You can't pour from an empty cup. He wasn't apologizing to me. He was apologizing for himself. There's a difference. It took me 30 years and a fractured hip to learn it, but there's a difference. I set the phone down on the counter hard enough that Tyler looked up from the stove. You okay? He asked. Fine, I said again. That word, that useless, load-bearing word. The mail came at 11 that morning. Tyler brought it in, a stack of the usual flyers, a package for Paisley she wasn't home to receive, and one bright yellow envelope stamped certified mail, signature required. Under normal circumstances, Marcus handles the mail when he's staying with me for anything. He's fast about it, almost weirdly fast, snatching it off the table before I even get a good look most days. I never thought much of that before. I do now. You want me to just set this on the table? Tyler asked, holding up the yellow envelope. Something in my gut told me not to wait. Open it, I said. My hands are still shaky from the medication. Just read it to me. He tore it open, unfolded the letter, and I watched his face change as he read it. Eyebrows pulling together, jaw tightening. Grandpa, he said slowly, this is from the credit union. Read it. He cleared his throat. It says notice of default. Says the home equity loan is 90 days past due. Says if payment isn't received within 30 days, they'll start foreclosure. The room went very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming, my own heartbeat weirdly loud and slow. That's not possible, I said. I paid this house off 11 years ago. There's no equity loan on this house. I never signed for anything like that. I mean, Tyler said gently, holding the letter toward me, even though we both knew I couldn't focus on it right now. It's saying otherwise. I sat there on the couch, staring at that yellow paper, and my mind went somewhere strange and specific. Back to every Saturday I'd spent painting that fence, fixing that minivan, rebuilding that back deck. I built this house paid off with my own hands, my own overtime, on my one day off, year after year. And somebody had quietly been putting a lien on it behind my back. He wasn't just ruining a trip, he was destroying everything I'd worked for. There's a difference. It took a certified letter to teach me that one, too. Tyler, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. Help me get to the computer. It took him practically lifting me off the couch to get me to the desk in the spare room, and even sitting hurt, the incision pulling every time I leaned forward. But I needed to see this myself. I needed to stop being told things and start knowing them. I tried logging into my bank account. Password incorrect. I tried the credit union's website. Password incorrect. Every account I could think of. Same result. They've all been changed, I said, mostly to myself. Changed how? Tyler asked, leaning over my shoulder. I don't know yet, my jaw was tight. I'm about to find out. I called customer service for the credit union, sat through 20 minutes of hold music, and finally got a representative who, after verifying my identity with my social security number and a security question about my first car, reset my access. What I found when I logged back in made my stomach drop somewhere around my ankles. Paperless statements enabled. Primary contact email not mine, not even close, some address I didn't recognize, a string of letters and numbers that meant nothing to me. I dug further. A home equity loan taken out against a house that had zero mortgage on it, $41,000, bearing what was unmistakably my signature, except I had never signed it. It was executed through a digital notary platform. I don't use digital signatures for anything, but there my name was, authorizing a loan I'd never heard of. I looked at the timestamps, finalized the exact Thursday afternoon I was being wheeled into surgery at Mercy Health. The digital certificate's IP address matched my own home internet. It was sloppy, desperate, and legally brain-dead. Grandpa, Tyler said slowly, pull up Aunt Dana's Etsy shop page, the one for her home decor thing. He did. We scrolled through months of posts. A leased truck she called a business vehicle. A storage unit full of inventory that never seemed to actually sell. None of it made money. It just spent it. I looked closer at the bank ledger tied to her business account. The $41,000 had hit her account, and within 2 days, chunks of it had been wired directly to a resort booking company and a private charter service. He didn't just take out a loan, Tyler, I said, the math finally locking into place. I paid $5,500 for the condo and flights. But the private boat tour, the couple's massage packages, the upgraded suite, he used a loan forged in my name to fund a lifestyle he couldn't afford on his own, and he used stolen money to upgrade a trip I already paid for. Tyler didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, quietly, you need a lawyer, Grandpa. Tonight, I called my old union rep first. Out of habit, he handles workplace stuff, not this. He referred me to a family law attorney named Ruth Halverson, who specialized in exactly this kind of case, though I doubt even she sees this particular combination very often. Forgery, fraud, and foreclosure, all wrapped up in a beach vacation caption that said finally relaxing. Ruth's voice on the phone was calm in a way that made me trust her immediately, the calm of someone who has seen far worse and isn't rattled by any of it. Here's the hard truth, Mr. Colson, she said. If you report this forgery to the bank and to the police, your son is looking at real charges. Fraud, identity theft, forgery of a legal document. This isn't a slap on the wrist. If you don't report it, that $41,000 in debt is legally yours. Your name is on it, whether you signed it or not, unless we can prove otherwise. And if you do report it, she said, you have leverage most people never get in situations like this. Real leverage, the kind that ends things before they even start. I sat with that for a long moment, staring at the fraud documents glowing on the computer screen, my hip throbbing dully, the house silent around me except for the low sound of Tyler washing dishes in the kitchen. 30 years. He'd forged my name on paper, but somewhere along the way he'd forged the whole relationship too, made it look like something it wasn't. My phone buzzed on the desk. I almost didn't look. I looked anyway. A new video posted 4 minutes ago. Marcus, Paisley, and Dana's sister on a chartered boat, drinks raised, sun setting gold behind them. Caption, finally away from all the negativity back home. I set the phone down, closed the laptop, and looked out the window at my quiet, paid-off house that somehow now had a stranger's lien on it. Enjoy the sunset, I thought. It's the last thing on this trip that's actually going to taste sweet. If you've been with me a while, you know what's coming, so drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed. There's a particular kind of quiet that settles over a house right before it becomes a courtroom. I didn't understand that until the night I shut off 2 credit cards from my kitchen table on Cutter Lane and listened, hundreds of miles away in spirit if not in miles, to my son's entire vacation collapse in real time. Tyler had gone to grab us dinner from a diner off Reynolds Road, because by that point in the week we'd both silently agreed that soup season was over. I sat alone at the kitchen table with my laptop open, Ruth Halverson's number saved in my recent calls, and a decision already made. You don't get to steal a man's house and his vacation on the proceeds. Not on my watch, not anymore. I logged into the banking app. 2 cards. Marcus's card tied to our old joint account from years back that I'd never bothered closing, the one he'd used to fund half of Mexico, and his personal card, the one I now knew was backed by the forged loan. I hovered my thumb over the toggle for a long moment. Last chance to be the reasonable one, last chance to just let it slide, keep the peace, be the bigger man. I'd been the bigger man for 30 years. Look where it got me. I switched both cards off. The text came in around 8:30 that evening while Tyler and I were eating diner food out of styrofoam containers at the counter, like 2 guys on a job site instead of 2 men in a quiet house. Marcus. Card declined at dinner. Must be a bank error. Can you check? I didn't respond. Tyler glanced at my phone, then at me, and just kept eating. 10 minutes later, my phone actually rang. I let it buzz twice before I picked up, and when I did, I could hear restaurant noise behind him, silverware, low chatter, somebody laughing a table over. Dad. Marcus's voice was pitched, low, urgent, the voice he uses when he's trying to sound calm in front of people while he's anything but. Hey, so weird thing, my card just got declined. Both of them, actually. Can you check what's going on with the account? I know what's going on with the account, I said. I turned the cards off. Silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear somebody recalibrating on the other end of the line. You, what? Dad, we're at dinner. There's like 6 of us. This is completely... His voice dropped even lower, and I could picture him exactly, stepping away from the table, hand cupped around the phone. Are you trying to embarrass me right now? Turn them back on. I kept my voice level, calmer than I'd felt in 11 days. I didn't turn them off to embarrass you, Marcus. I turned them off because they're my accounts, my name, my credit, my signature. Well, some of it's my signature, apparently. Since you didn't want the trip money to go to waste, I'm sure your sister-in-law can cover dinner. Don't rush home on my account. I hung up before he could answer. Tyler looked at me over his food, eyebrows raised, chewing slowly. Damn, Grandpa. Yeah, I said. Damn. I didn't sleep much that night. But for once, it wasn't the hip keeping me up, it was strategy. I sat up in bed with a legal pad Ruth had told me to keep. Write everything down, dates, dollar amounts, screenshots, all of it. We build the case before we build the confrontation. And by 2 in the morning, I had 4 pages of notes and a plan that felt less like revenge and more like a demolition schedule, which I suppose is fitting. 31 years fixing water mains. I know how to take a structure apart safely so it doesn't hurt the people standing near it. Except this time, the people standing near it were the ones who'd built it crooked in the first place. The next morning, Ruth filed for an emergency financial injunction, freezing every account with both our names on it before Marcus could touch another dollar. It went through by early afternoon. Every account frozen, every card dead. Whatever cash he'd carried onto that boat was, as of 2:15 that afternoon, the last liquid money he had access to. Then I did the part I'd been turning over in my head since the certified letter first landed on my table. I opened an email to 2 addresses I'd found through Dana's Etsy shop contact page, cross-referenced against her sister's husband's dealership listing. Subject line, regarding recent financial activity involving your household. I attached 3 things. My hospital discharge paperwork from Mercy Health, dated the same week their family was photographed at a resort spa with mine. A summary, not accusatory, just factual, numbers and dates of the forged loan and where the money went. And a screenshot of the self-care isn't selfish post, time-stamped the same morning I'd been trying to reheat soup with one working hand. I didn't editorialize. I didn't need to. The math did the talking. You don't throw a punch when the truth can land it for you, Ruth told me, and it's the best advice I've ever gotten for free. I hit send at 4 in the afternoon and went to go help Tyler load up a used utility van he'd been eyeing for over a year. Because that was the other thing I did that afternoon, and it felt better than every other part of the plan combined. The van was parked in a dealer lot off Airport Highway, white with some rust around the wheel wells, but a fully outfitted service bay in the back that Tyler had clearly memorized down to the inch. The shelving, the tool racks, the compressor setup, all of it, with the kind of hope in his voice I hadn't heard from anyone in this whole story except myself back in February, sliding that printout across my kitchen table. You don't have to do this, Tyler said, standing next to me in the lot, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, trying and failing to sound like he meant it. I know I don't have to, I said. I want to. You gave up a real apprenticeship to spoon-feed your grandfather soup and carry his mail. The least I can do is not let that be for nothing. We worked out the terms right there in the van's front seat with Ruth on speakerphone. My personal savings, never touched by any joint account, never touched by anything Marcus's name was on, funding the purchase outright. A real partnership drawn up properly. I'd handle the books, the licensing, the business side. I understand that from 31 years managing crew budgets. Tyler would own the tools, own the trade, own the thing he was actually good at. Colson and Reyes HVAC Services, Tyler said, testing the name out loud for the first time, looking at the blank side panel of the van like he could already see it lettered there. Sounds like something worth getting up early for, I said. It was the first thing in 11 days that felt like it was actually being built instead of torn down. They landed back at Detroit Metro the next evening. I know because Paisley's location was still shared with the family tracker Marcus had insisted we all keep years back. For safety, he'd said. Back when safety was still something he cared about that didn't just mean his own comfort. I watched the little dot move from the airport onto the highway toward Cutter Lane, and I sat at my kitchen table and waited. Ruth was already there beside me, a folder in front of her, quiet and unbothered, the way a person is when they've done this 100 times and know exactly how it ends. Tyler stood in the kitchen doorway, not hiding, not performing, just there, quietly wrapping up his tools for an early shift on the new van the next morning. Because life, unlike Marcus's vacation photos, keeps moving whether you're ready or not. The garage door went up, then down, footsteps, and the front door swung open hard enough to bang against the wall. Marcus came in first, his face sunburned across the nose, sunglasses pushed up into his hair, eyes wide with a frantic, unhinged look. Paisley trailed behind him, clutching her phone like a shield. Marcus didn't even look at Ruth. He lunged toward the table. "What did you do?" he shouted, voice cracking. "Dad, what the hell did you do?" Dana's sister's husband called the resort screaming. He froze their accounts too. They wouldn't even ride in the same car with me at the airport. They think we're running some kind of scam. I sat up straight, pain steadier than it had been in days, calm. "I didn't do anything, Marcus," I said quietly. "I just sent them the truth. I sent them Dana's Etsy shop bank statements. I showed them the exact ledger lines where the $41,000 forged loan hit her account and how thousands of it got wired out to pay for their share of that boat and the resort. Their family isn't mad at me. They're mad because they took stolen, forged money to go live like royalty while I was on a concrete garage floor. I didn't have to call you a thief. The paper trail did that for me." Marcus's face went from red to gray. "Dad, what is wrong with you?" he started, voice climbing. "You humiliated me in front of Dana's whole family. You froze my cards. Do you have any idea?" "Sit down, Marcus," I said, quiet, not a shout. I didn't need to shout anymore. Something in my tone stopped him mid-sentence. He sat. Ruth slid 2 documents across the table, side by side, and I watched his eyes drop to them. "Document A," I said, "is a completed police report for felony forgery and identity theft. One loan, $41,000, my name signed by someone who wasn't me. That report gets filed the second I decide to file it." Marcus's face went pale under the sunburn. "Dad, I can explain. Document B," I kept going, not raising my voice, not letting him interrupt, is a written agreement. You pay off the entire 41,000 out of your own pocket, on your own timeline, in your own name, because it was never mine to begin with. You also sign over your name from the deed, since apparently you thought you had the right to put a lien on a house you don't own. The kitchen was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator cycling. If you sign document B, I said, I don't file the police report today. You keep your name clean, and you spend the next several years paying back every dollar of what you stole, starting now. If you fight me on this, if you make me do this the hard way, I file document A instead. The police station is 12 minutes from here. You'll leave this house in handcuffs instead of with a suitcase. His hands were shaking by the time he picked up the pen. I watched years of manufactured composure, every casserole dinner smile, every self-care isn't selfish caption, collapse into something small and human, and for the first time since this whole thing started, honest. He signed. Paisley had been standing frozen near the doorway through all of it, but the second the pen left her father's hand, she found her voice. Are you serious right now, Grandpa? You're destroying our whole family over a stupid vacation. It was never about the vacation, I said, and I felt something in my chest go very still and very calm. Sit down, Paisley. She didn't sit, but she didn't leave either. I pulled up her tuition portal on my laptop and turned the screen toward her. I'm still paying your community college tuition directly to the school every semester because I respect your education, and I'm not going to let you pay for your father's mistakes. That doesn't change. Her shoulders dropped slightly, like she thought that was the whole conversation. But the car insurance I've been covering, that's done at the end of this month. The phone plan, done. The little allowance I've been slipping you every month, done. You want a lifestyle beyond tuition and books. You're going to go get a part-time job like every other 19-year-old in this country. Grandpa, you can't just. I can, I said, and I am. She started to say something else, something sharp. I could see it forming, but I wasn't finished. And for once in this house, nobody talked over me before I was done. When you were 7, I said, and my voice actually shook a little on that one, no matter how calm I'd stayed through everything else. You used to bring me lemonade when I was out mowing the lawn in the summer. You'd sit on the porch steps and tell me about your whole day at school, every tiny detail, like it was the most important news in the world. I used to think, I'm raising a good person, a kind person. I looked at her, really looked, maybe for the first time in years. I don't know who you are now, Paisley. I don't recognize her. But I hope someday you remember who you used to be, because that little girl was worth a lot more than the one who filmed her grandfather asking for help and turned it into a joke. Paisley didn't scream, didn't storm out. She just stood there and broke quietly, tears running down a sunburned face. And I think for the first time, she understood she wasn't just losing an allowance, she was losing me. The fallout moved fast after that. Dana's sister and her husband cut Marcus's family off completely, scrambling to distance themselves from any of it. The country club golf league Marcus had spent years trying to buy his way into with money he didn't have quietly stopped inviting him within a month. 8 weeks later, Marcus had sold his truck and was renting a small apartment across town, working extra shifts at the dealership just to keep up with the payments on document B, paying back every dollar into an account Ruth monitors personally. Paisley picked up evening shifts at a coffee shop near campus, finally learning what $1 actually costs. As for me, I sold the house on Cutter Lane. There were too many memories of a fence I painted for people who never once said thank you. I used my untouched savings to put a down payment on a small storefront off Reynolds Road, and Tyler runs Colson and Reyes HVAC services out of it now, full crew, 3 trucks, a wait list 2 weeks long. I handle the books, the scheduling, the business side, using 31 years of managing crews and budgets to build something that's actually ours. I watch him train the new guys, and I think about the garage floor, the crackers on the side table, and the pen shaking in Marcus's hand. For 30 years, I thought I was building a family. Turns out I was just building an audience, and the show was never actually about me. Now I'm on my own, and I've never been lonelier, and I've never been more at peace. If this one hit home for you, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight. I'll see you on the next one.